Welcome to the CP podcast, brought to you by Team CP, your endurance coaching specialist. I am your host, Angus Petrie, aka the medium man with the mo, and to your right of screen is our team captain and also this week's birthday boy, Richard Greer. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you, Angus. One step deeper into the veterans category. Making sure of that. Good, thanks.
Yeah, and I believe it's a bit of a milestone birthday. Now, a lot of people, they celebrate 30s, 40s, 50s. But actually, in the endurance world, Richard, this is probably what we'd call a milestone, a 42, which means a marathon.
Yes, that's right. It's not an ultra marathon yet, is it? It's a marathon. So I guess that means I have to do another one. I've only ever run one marathon. And I've put it out to a few people that I coach to say if they could run faster than me, well, maybe I'll run one again. But it was really just to tick the box. It was a horrible day down Dunedin that I managed to run a marathon. But I've just kind of moved on from that. So I don't know, maybe.
Well, I'd say the challenge is out there, isn't it? That really you should be running, a kilometre for every year that you've been around. Really, Rich. I think we should lay that down out here live as we speak right now. I think that's it. So.
Well, can we call it a 42.2? And I don't think I'm 42.2 years old yet. So maybe we need to work on that.
Okay, so there's a little technicality being pulled already. I see where this is heading, Richard. So we should move along. Richard, what have you brought us for tonight's show?
Hey, we've got an awesome show on tonight. We're going to talk to Laura Siddall shortly, and we're also going to talk to Lee Butts. So just a quick intro about Lee. Lee has been trying to run a sub-3-hour marathon for a little while now and had some tough luck at Christchurch Marathon with weather and all sorts. So we worked with him, and he shared about how that went, how it actually unfolded. So talking to him. But we're going to kick off with Laura Siddall. So if anybody... follows triathlon, Ironman, etc., challenge events around the place, you will definitely have come across Laura. So Laura's joining us on the show all the way from Spain, where she's currently based. And she's been racing full-time as a professional since 2014. And in that time, she's won 4 Ironman Championship events, including Ironman Australia, 3 years running, Ironman NZ as well. And actually with that Ironman NZ race is probably the biggest cheer that you'd have across a finish line that's a non-New Zealander. She's spends her summers in New Zealand, which is how I got to meet her in the Wanaka Challenge Wanaka events. But she's also won the European long course distance champion in the Ironman distance in 2018. She's a fantastic athlete, but also a great advocate for the sport of triathlon, enthusiastic and a great one to share. So pretty excited that Laura is coming into us all the way from Spain. It's 10 a.m. in the morning. She's got up early and ridden her bike. Laura, are you there?
We Rich, just sorry, Laura. Welcome, Laura. Welcome.
Hi there. Hi, guys.
But again, Richard goes to continue pushing the boundaries and showing how famous we are. And for you to get up out of bed earlier than you've got out of bed for a long, long time, as you've just told us before, to ride your bike, to join our show, that means a lot. Thank you very much.
No worries. Thanks for having me on. It's good to connect to you guys. And Richard, happy birthday for this week then. I knew there was a reason I liked you, because September birthdays, people who have birthdays in September are always good.
Yeah, generally go well, don't we? When's your birthday, Laura?
Mine was last week.
Oh, right. Oh, fantastic. And what did you do on your birthday?
What did I just went for a local ride with one of the bike shops here in Girona. They have a regular Thursday ride, so it was actually the first time I joined that. It tends to be we ride out of town, we stop for about an hour for coffee. It's very Spanish, and they surprised me with cake, which was nice. And then just did a bit of a ride and then caught up with friends for a few drinks and dinner in the evening. So pretty chilled.
Excellent. And what's the weather doing in Spain at the moment? What sort of conditions have you got that you're riding in?
It's pretty nice. So I headed out this morning at 7 a.m., which I appreciate to most people listening. They've already done their session and they're heading to work. Now, for me, that was really early. I had to have lights on as well because it's getting a bit darker in the mornings here. But it's about 26 degrees at the moment. So very much shorts and T-shirts still, pretty hot. It's getting autumnal, I will say that. So as you guys are sort of heading into summer, and I'm sure you're looking forward to that, we're obviously heading into autumn and winter, but still, and it's going to be my first winter season in about so many years that I can't remember. So a little bit worried about that, but I've heard it's pretty mild, so hopefully it shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, I was just going to say that you know, like as a token Christchurch lady, really, that there's plenty of people and plenty of athletes actually experiencing things around the world, i.e. winter, or vice versa for some of them. Some people are having summers where they normally chase a winter. So a lot of difference going on around the world.
Yeah, it's so I was obviously in Christchurch over, well, you know, December, January, February last year, and or this year, beginning of this year, and actually headed to Challenge Wanaka. Was at that race. I wasn't racing, but I was there. And the day after Wanaka, I actually flew to the States, and I was just planning to be away for 5 weeks on a training camp with my coach in the States, Julie Dibbins. And it was during that time of being in the States that everything started shutting down and New Zealand shut their borders. So I actually couldn't get back into New Zealand, and I didn't have a visa to stay in the US. Neither did I particularly want to stay indefinitely in the US. So yeah, I ended up back in the sort of left New Zealand for 5 weeks and diverted back to the UK and headed to the UK in March and was there for the lockdown in the UK. Stayed. My sister fortunately allowed me to live with her and her family. But it's I guess it's the first time I've lived in the UK for any length of time since 2007. Wow. And we weren't really sure at that stage, like anyone was, how long things were going to be for. So yeah, I was there from mid-March to just to the end of August when I managed to get myself back to Spain for a bit.
Nice. So what would have been better? Winter in Christchurch or an English summer living with your family?
I don't know if they're listening or not. Yeah, I to be fair, because I've gone from summer to summer for the past few years, I think I probably would have struggled with the winter in Christchurch. I wouldn't have been prepared, although I do think you guys, whilst you had a pretty tough lockdown initially, I do think you've done a great job of containing things and being able to sort of live life pretty much as normal, albeit you can't get in and no one can can't get out and no one can get in. But no, you know what, it was, and I know it was it was a real positive actually from out of the experience that I actually got to spend time with family. You know, I've been away from the UK since 2007 and overseas and traveling so much that I only normally sort of get the odd week here and there back in the UK, or if parents and sisters come out to see me race and things like that. So whilst I'm not sure my sister expected it to be 5 months or 4 months with her and her family, it was actually really lovely, albeit there was a lot of stresses around the experience just with the training and things. But yeah, I got to spend that time with the family and see my nieces and nephews growing up and their experiences, and was fortunate lived where my sister lives is quite close to my mum and dad, so at least could see them, albeit at 2 meter distance, which I'm not sure if it is worse or better, because you just want to give your mum a hug, and she, I'm sure, was wanting to give us a hug, and we couldn't. But yeah, and also got as things started to lift and ease, we got to see my other sisters around the UK and things as well. So that was something that I guess I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do if we'd been still in a normal world.
Yes. Jumping back, tell us a bit of a background, like all the way back to 2007, the last time you've been in the UK. How did you get into triathlon? What's your journey, and why the long distance events for you?
Yeah, so 2007, I was working in the UK as an engineer for Shell. So I'd had a gap year, been to university, and then started in the corporate world and got an opportunity to go to Australia with Shell for a 2-year placement or an assignment. And it was once I was in Australia that I found triathlon. Always been sporty growing up as a kid, mainly track, athletics, and then netball and hockey, which is great because I can mention netball to you guys. And as Kiwis, you know the Silver Ferns and you know what netball is. But was looking for something in Australia when I moved out of there, and everyone's mad on triathlon. So just fell into triathlon as a complete beginner. And I guess to cut out a big chunk of that, but the long course, you know, at that stage, I was 29 years old. So pretty mature to be starting a new sport. But at that point, it was just a hobby. I was still in my corporate career, but just progressed on from there. And so I guess 4 years as an amateur and managed to win some world titles as an amateur. And then it was kind of getting to a crossroads of what do I do then? And because of age and not being in any, talent ID programs or government triathlon programs, I was never going to go to that short distance and the Olympic and the ITU distance with age, but also my swimming's shit, as we all know. So it was naturally pushing me towards the longer distance. And I actually think kind of deep down, I knew that's probably where my strength lies. I'm kind of more of a diesel engine than that pure speed. I guess I have very, very short pure speed and high power, but that sprint distance is probably not so much. So that's kind of where, kind of ended up doing the half distance and the full distance.
Yeah, nice. And as that sort of longer distance athlete, the ability to hurt and to be able to keep on being out there and keeping on, is that sort of one of your strengths in terms of just that mental toughness when it's a bit ugly, but just to keep on in the fight?
Yeah, I guess so. I tend to I don't know that it's from the time spent in New Zealand and like doing courses like Wanaka and just riding the roads. Like there's a bit of a toughness there that you have to have. And, almost to say when I go into a race, sort of the gnarlier, the better. So the worst conditions, I kind of feel I've got that resilience and that sort of diesel and that endurance to keep going. So almost like the longer the race can be, the better it is for me. Yeah.
And in terms of some of your events that you've done really well, and it's that really tough bike ride that's really mean that you've put you further to the front and able to finish the course off. Would that be right?
Yeah, definitely. I think like those bike courses that are really tough, and if you actually look at all of the rate, like Wanaka is a prime example when it was that full distance race, and even Port Macquarie is a pretty tough bike course. The European Championships in Madrid was a ridiculously hard bike course in really hot conditions, and so I guess that sort of the longer the bike takes, it wears others down more than it wears me, and I'm still able to run like a relatively solid pace off that bike. Again, I might not have the extra edge of speed that a lot of the athletes have, and that's where if it's a shorter course or it's a flatter course and it's faster, then maybe that doesn't play to my strengths as much. But yeah, the sort of those tough bike courses and then a tough run seems to help me a little bit better.
Yeah. Awesome. That's good. I met you down in Challenge Wanaka, cheered you across the line for a number of years. You've had 4 second places down there, 21 seconds missing out on the top spot, and then 7 seconds off the top spot. That's tough. How do you keep, like as a pro, how do you keep coming back and picking yourself up? Because you turn yourself inside out and inside out again to be able to race that hard.
Yeah,
but not just then, it's across the course of the season as well. How do you do that? How do you keep coming back for more?
Yeah, so I mean that race is a tough one for me. I mean, it means I love that race so much, and it means a lot that I have a feeling it's going to be that race that's just going to niggle at when I look back at my career and go, that was the race that got away. Particularly that full distance, because it's just so iconic and such a grueling course. But what keeps you going is that I just love it. And I still feel even though, again, I'm at the older end of the scale and had a scary birthday last week, which did freak me out a lot, I have to admit. I still feel I'm improving, and I still feel I've got things to get better. And I just want to keep pushing myself and seeing what I can do. And the thing is now, like I said, I'm kind of at the top end, even though I still feel very new in the sport and still feel kind of new to the professional racing. And the women coming through from the ITU or the age groupers that are coming through and turning professional, and we've got new women coming in, and they're really raising the bar. And so it makes it harder for sure. But I still feel that I have more to give. On the race course and outside the race course. I started with a new coach, Julie Dibbins, in December, and I've just been absolutely loving it. Without Dibbs' support, there'd be no way I'd have got through the last few months of lockdown, but also kind of going through injury without her and where I am today. So that's been amazing. And I just want to get back to a place of full fitness where I can really work with her. She's absolutely incredible. We've got a great squad. And so I'm really excited about that. So I think you get, those days and those races where you don't perform. I mean, some of those second places in Wanaka, it's frustrating, but I had really great performances that I was proud of. And I couldn't have done anything more on the day. So that kind of gives you that hook of, it pulls you in, because that was a great performance, but you can still do things, you can still improve, you can still get better. And and then those races where you don't have your day, it's a frustration, but you keep going, because again, you want to get to that race that where you can get that sort of perfect performance or whatever it is out on the day. And I mean, the other thing is, like, while we talk about process and about finding that best performance for you on the day, and that might be a 3rd place, it might be a 10th place, it might be the win, but it's that feeling that you've executed to the best of your ability and given it all on the day. So that's one thing that drives you. But the other thing, there is no better feeling than running across the finish line first, regardless of what's happened. It's just that, you never take it for granted. And if I could bottle those feelings, I guess I'm a pretty emotional finisher at the finish line. So it tends to mean a lot to me. So that feeling kind of keeps you going as well, because you want to get another adrenaline kick from that.
Good. And that's what gets your feet on the floor in the morning, to get on your bike at 7 a.m. to make sure you get that session done, doesn't it? Yeah, that's good. Coming back to training, how do you balance training and recovery to optimize that? Because obviously working with your coach, there's the science and there's the numbers of that, but also there's the art and the how you feel side of things as well. How do you balance that for yourself?
Yeah, so working with a coach is a key bit of that. A lot of the time I leave that to the numbers side, I guess, to Dibs. So, we use one of the training platforms, and I personally don't really look at those TSS scores and the fatigue and that sort of thing. I leave that to Dibs to manage. But also I think it's having a coach or a very open communication relationship. So where I can openly talk to her about how I'm feeling, and I write quite a few notes after training sessions, so she gets that feedback, and we kind of check in every few days and stuff. And she's got quite a good eye on if I've had a few weeks of build, it'll be like, right, how are you feeling, honestly, sort of thing. I'm really bad for knowing my body from that point of view, because I'll just kind of keep going, and someone will, if the training's in there, I'll just keep pushing. But but I am getting better, and it's been interesting training with Dibs as well, because it's not about like hitting the top end of the numbers in every session. Like, there's ranges that we work to, and it's okay to do. She made a great comment to me, which actually came from sort of Rinny and Tim O'Donnell. It's about trying to be as fit as you can on the least amount of sort of training and effort, if that makes sense. So it's in those sessions where you've got numbers, you don't have to be smashing the ceiling on those numbers. You can be doing them within the range and controlling them. And, it doesn't have to be a PB every session, and that can still be just as valuable. So I'd say, and then I'm getting better at being conscious of my body and knowing when I need to. Sleep's the main thing for me. I'm really shocking at sleep. Never have been good, and that's my excuse I use. So I have to be really conscious of that. From a personal perspective, there's nothing really my coach can do about that. I've started wearing one of these Whoop straps. This is I'm not paid. They do not sponsor me. It was all paid for myself, just out of interest, really, to see. So that records sleep and heart rate variability. It can tell you if you should take a day off and stuff like that. So I don't use it from that. I just use it more as a awareness around the sleep that I'm getting and the quality of the sleep. And I know that after, if I've had a week or several weeks of really poor, bad sleep, I can feel myself. and it's not necessarily my performance that might suffer, although the edge does go off, and I notice that. But it's the mood swings, it's the concentration, it's the irritableness, it's the hungry and that sort of thing. So yeah, I kind of have to be pretty conscious of that.
Just to catch yourself with that. So at the end of the day, basically it's I'll go and do what I need to do, but it's that communication with your coach is the critical thing, just to say, actually, Laura, let's just button off a little bit. So having that backwards and forwards works really well to be able to achieve that in terms of your session. Nice. In terms of working with your coach, what do you do in regards to strength training for a long course triathlete that's trying to be right at the top of your game?
Yeah, so I actually work with a separate strength and conditioning coach, female called Kate Leigler. She's actually based in Boulder as well, which seems a bit odd, but again, sort of knew Kate when I was living in San Francisco, but started working with her again sort of December this year. And so how we work at Dibs appreciates that we need to do strength and conditioning in our program. So when she gives me my plan for the week, she'll schedule in 2 or 3 strength sessions a week. And then I snapshot that to Kate, and Kate delivers me the actual detailed plan based on what my training load is for the week, or if I've got any races coming up, or what time of year the season is. Kate's pretty good at being able to flex that. She's a cyclist herself. She's worked with a lot of triathletes around over the years. And again, just real communication. Sometimes people think, oh, how can you have an online strength coach kind of thing? But she has a great setup. She sends me, like I said, the program's coming through every week. They're always different. I get videos of what the exercise is if it's something new. I video myself often as well and send it back to her, just saying, am I doing this right? And I, again, feedback, right, I was doing these weights, et cetera, so she can kind of see that progression. I've been a strong advocate for strength always. I think it was part of my training when I was doing athletics and netball, and I think it's been key at barring current injury, but that wasn't a wear and tear, that was a impact zone injury. But I think it's been one of the reasons I've been very fortunate throughout my career to have limited, I'm touching wood now, to have limited injuries and to be pretty resilient from that fact. And I think as well, as we get older, again, age thing coming in, I think it's another key thing just to keep your bones healthy and stuff like that. And it's like strength and conditioning programs that I'm not really doing any massive big lifting, and that might change over the year, obviously, with timing of the season and stuff. But a lot of it's real functional movement. So lots of movement with the weight. So lunging with the weights, or the single leg deadlifts, or different movement patterns, but carrying weights to try and connect all the right chains of the body as we go. Great. So some real functional type stuff. And is it like, do you end up being sore after those? Is it like some of those sessions like, I should go for a bike ride tomorrow because I'm running a bit funny? Sometimes if there's exercises that we're doing that are a bit newer or haven't done for a while, then I'll have a little bit of soreness. But again, I'm not doing anything at the moment that's like super heavy weights and things like that. So I haven't had any of that huge fatigue of DOMs and stuff like that. And I was also doing, I've been doing a lot of like rehab work for my shoulder through the strength and conditioning as well. So not so much any of that real fatigue. But I think that's one of the beauties of the sport that we do, is that you can have a hard gym session or a heavier gym session, and then you go and flush yourself out in the swimming pool and doing a swim session, or you go and spin your legs on the bike. And it all kind of helps with recovery, but you're still getting the benefits for the disciplines that you then focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit of a changing tack, a bit of a nutrition question that's just come up. Nutrition night before a key race. What's your go-to? Have you got a go-to, or it just depends on what's on the menu and what I feel like?
I haven't really got a go-to apart from nothing different. So I don't like I know there's people that go and have their big pizza or their big pasta meal and stuff. My nutrition day to day tends to stay the same before a race. I may increase my carbs slightly over the couple of days leading in. That's again something I'm sort of working on or looking into at the moment, but I don't overly go and have a massive like pasta meal or anything like that. It's just normally actually lots of fruit, lots of veggies and salad and something like chicken or steak or actually I should go back and ask the Mike and Jan Harris, who are the family I stay with before Ironman Australia every year. They normally do a massive barbecue the day before the race, and that seems to have worked so far. So maybe that's the plan. The only thing I do have the night before the race, although during lockdown in the last few months I was tending to have it every night, so I'm not sure that's so special anymore, is chocolate.
Okay.
Don't know why. It's nothing from a performance enhancing perspective, I don't think. It's just one of those kind of, I'll have some chocolate the night before the race. But as said, that's been a fairly free flowing over the last few months of lockdown anyway.
Yeah. Fantastic. I've been doing a bit of background research here as part of this interview. And could you please explain what STSL means?
I know exactly who you've been doing your
there we go.
Like photos as well. Oh, look at all my lovely stuff. Thanks Nadine for that. That looks quite tidy. I'm quite impressed. That's looking quite tidy. So yes.
So the bed isn't yours and the couch isn't yours, but everything else is yours.
Correct. Yeah, none of the actual furniture in there is mine, but all the bags you see are. But as I was saying, it looks like it's quite reduced at the moment. That's obviously a nice wide angle lens being used there. So STSL, also known as Shizzle, is basically an acronym of shit that Sid left. So I have various friends around the world from when I was living in Sydney and then moved to different places. And obviously then that's Nadine's lovely spare room in Christchurch. That then store my shit as I've moved on to different places. I have tried to consolidate over the years just to a couple of locations. So Nadine's tends to be that one, and then sort of more at my mum and dad's. And then I've rapidly collected stuff here in Girona, which is quite scary. So that's all the stuff that I kind of have to pack up when I move from one place to another, with the joy of not owning my own place yet.
I feel like Christmas.
And I am very grateful. I'm very grateful for all my friends. There's some in Sydney have got some stuff. I was thinking about getting T-shirts made or key rings or something as a badge of honor. I think Nadine keeps threatening to sell it, which could be a good idea at the moment. I'm not so sure. I don't think it's worth anything though.
Yeah, fantastic. What's in the future? What's on the cards for you going forward? Where are you off to next? So what's the race season and things looking like ahead for you?
Yeah, so I mean, there are races that are coming back at the moment, sort of in various places. Finger crossed. So I've been rehabbing a stress fracture of my collarbone, which was resultant from the break last year. So I actually only started swimming last week. Or when I say swimming, I was only allowed to get in the water for the first time since February last week. So it's going to be a bit of a long road back to get to racing for me. There is Challenge Daytona in December, which is a big race and a big prize purse. So I don't know if I'll be ready for that. I'm not sure. I don't think I will be, but it would be still good if travel allows to get out there. But otherwise, it's kind of getting back to full fitness with my swimming, so that ready to, if and when we get back into some normality of races next year, maybe that's the plan. But also, it looks like I'm probably going to base myself in Spain over winter, which, like I was saying earlier, is going to be a bit of a shock. Normally, I'd be heading down to New Zealand and Christchurch and have summer down there. So I'm going to be spending, although many people would joke that I did have winter in the UK during their summer, but it wasn't too bad.
Winter in Spain's better than winter in the UK, though, surely.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of part of the reason for coming out here, and I've got a good setup here as well. So I'll probably base myself here, and then just try and get fit and ready for next year, if that's gonna come back with races in similar form to what we used to know. I mean, it's still a bit up in the air, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, no, it totally is. What's one or two key tips for others that you would share in terms of to improve their performance of things that, like, you've been doing this for a number of years now, and I'm sure you've learned lots of different stuff, but what's one or two key kind of, maybe it's not just your standard generic advice, but sort of key things that you like to do that you would like to pass on to others?
Oh gosh, yeah. I think for me, having a coach with that you have a really good rapport with and communication, so that you can it's not so much you've got to believe the process, you've got to trust the process. So I'm not saying you are questioning every session that you're given, because I don't think that's a healthy relationship either, but there obviously needs to be an understanding. But I think a coach, just to be able to have those conversations of going, I am feeling like this, or and when you back off, or when you can push through, things like that. So I think that's been really valuable for me over the years. And I think, like I said, the last sort of few months with Julie Dibbons has been a more of an eye-opener on that as well. But I think the other thing is, and I guess something a little bit that I kind of knew before, but has come home again, it's with the bike. So, and again, it's hard, when you've been in winter and lockdown and a lot of time on that indoor trainer, and I'm very grateful for it. But I do think you do miss, you've got to learn to ride your bike on the roads and the terrain. And it's not just about how big a power you can put down and what FTP or what your max watts are. It's about using the power at the right time in a race and being smart around that distribution, so that whether it's hills, cornering, what cadence you're using, do you need to up the power a little bit here at this point in the race, or are you better just sitting back and relaxing into it, because obviously then you have to run off it. So I guess it's just being a bit smarter about how you use a power into the race and out on the roads.
So you're talking a little bit by feel as well. It's not just about the numbers. It's actually by the course and the feel and how you're going as you go up and down, because there's always ups and downs in the event. And working a lot on technique. So it's not about getting those numbers out by pure brute force and strength. It's about riding with the bike and at one with the bike. So whether that's, I think, working on your aero position and aerodynamics, and you don't need to do the micro millimeter adjustments and the wind tunnel that some people do. I don't think everyone not everyone has access to that, but there is a lot of drills that you can do that just help you get into a better position on the bike, that then help you bring out that power at the right time on a course, or when you then just sit back into relaxing it and that sort of thing. Yeah, because it's ultimately about efficiency, isn't it? When we're racing, and especially when you have to run after that as well to be able to be in a reasonable shape when you finish your bike ride.
I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's about getting from A to B as fast as you can, and it doesn't really matter what the power watts say; it's the speed watts at the end of it, sort of thing. Yeah. So and like I said, being able to run off the back.
Well, Laura, we're just about near used up all your time here, but I have got a few more things we just want to cover off. One, I've got a couple of questions from our viewers that are out there, and I always love to have a little bit of interaction from them. So George Paul, who's a regular viewer of ours, he asked, what's Laura's favourite event or favourite distance? So I guess what event is one that one of your absolutely all-time favourites, and even though you compete in long distance, is actually that your favorite distance?
If I was able to do a sprint distance, I'd probably choose that one. It's just
it's shorter,
sharp, done before breakfast. No, I mean, I do like the long distance, obviously, the full distance. Favorite event, real tough one. I have a few. Obviously, favorite events are ones that for me, the ones that I win, and so they always have a special place in heart. But I mean, Challenge Wanaka, I think, is an awesome event, particularly when it used to have that full distance race, just an iconic. So that will always be a special one for me. Obviously, Taupo and Ironman New Zealand, just again, with the time I spend in New Zealand, and like you said, sort of that that feeling when I won in 2018 was amazing. So I do love that race as well. And the people up there are incredible. Again, I'd have to shout out to Port Macquarie and Ironman Australia, just from the experiences in the community. Again, very similar feel, I think, to Topor and Wanaka, those kind of community races. But I think if I take it away from the races I've won, so I can be fair, Challenge Roth by far is the best race in the world. The whole week leading up into it, the people, everyone is made to feel so welcome. There's such a buzz, all the events that go on, the actual race course, and that finish line is like nothing else you've experienced in the world, because you run, for those who don't know it, you run down your traditional finish chute, I guess, and then you enter into a stadium that they built which fits 10,000 people in. And particularly, actually, it's better as the night goes on and it gets dark, and they've got flames and fireworks and sparklers. But the noise, I get goosebumps just thinking about it now. But the noise that bubbles up in there is just fantastic. And that team, like many of the race teams, but that team's pretty special. So yeah, I think I'll put that one at the top, and then keep all the Topor and Wanaka and Ironman Australia on one level as well.
Good job.
Nice. And what about other sports and disciplines and things like, that you may do for fun or for cross training? Is there such a time in the year that you actually get to do something different, or are you just all either on season and off season training? Or
well, I mean, that's I guess another positive about COVID and lockdown. I've done some virtual racing. I know that's a bit similar still. And so that's been interesting. It's very different, but it's been interesting. And another reason actually for getting out to Spain, I did a gravel event at the weekend. So I was able to get on a gravel event, and I did, it was they had a 200K, 100K and a 60K. I did the 60K. I felt like I was doing an Enticer triathlon. It was one of those, like, I'm just doing like this Enticer or the 5K fun run, and the big kids are doing the 100 and 200. But absolutely loved it. And it's times like this when the world has gone a bit skew, that actually, because there aren't the races, we can do stuff that's a bit different, and I did in the UK, and I do not recommend this, I did a 100-mile time trial, which everyone says, but you're a long distance athlete, that should be up your wheelhouse, but it's very, very different just against the pure time trialists. And again, that's very much on aerodynamics and position, but that was something different. So yeah, I'm hoping to do a bit more gravel riding while I'm in Spain. I'm hoping to get myself, so you can see in the corner, I've got my two lovely bikes there, but I'm hoping to add another one of a gravel bike if I can get that one, and do some gravel biking. Also, over here, they've got some trail events. So in a couple of weeks, I'm doing a trail run over on the coast, and they've got one in November, just in the hills, pretty local here. So I think it's, whether that's your off-season time or, a break from the swim, bike, run, I think it's a great opportunity to do something different, get out on a mountain bike. Christchurch is perfect for that as well, like mountain biking, probably a little bit more than the gravel. I saw Cam Brown had his first time on a gravel bike the other day, and on Instagram and things like that. And it's actually, for me, I lost a lot of confidence in my bike skills when I crashed my bike and broke my collarbone, and I've been really struggling with that coming back. So actually getting back out on a road bike, getting on the gravel bike, and actually just following someone and having to sort of to keep up and follow their lines and do that sort of learning, I'm hoping is going to help improve my confidence and skills again.
So no comeback on the netball then, Laura?
Yeah, probably not the netball. Well, I don't think they'd know what it was in Spain. I'd have to be back in New Zealand for that. Still very much a netball fan. If there's games and stuff, I love still going to watch the netball. I did play a few years ago in like a mixed team, and that was one of those days where I couldn't walk the next day. Very, very different muscles being used.
Totally.
All right. Well, just a couple, two more things we need to get through here quickly. One, we've got our every athlete quick fire question set, which are slightly tailored. So we'll just fire into them. Don't think about it. Just give us the answer. First question, training morning or evening is the normal question, but I've just added in here, or midday-ish for you.
Normally morning to midday.
Yeah, good.
It's Spain. Like nothing opens until like 9 or 10 o'clock. So where do you get your coffee?
Midday to evening, maybe.
Yeah. So I do prefer to get things kind of like mid-morning time, but anything like that.
Nice. Swimming, ocean, lake, or the pool?
Ooh. For actual training sessions, the pool. But just getting in the water and being in open water, there's nothing better than the ocean or a lake or something like that, I think. Yeah.
Really? Bike now, flat bike course or a hilly one?
Hilly.
That's obviously a strength and advantage for you if it's hilly. Yeah. Fancy meal out or one of mum's home cooked meals?
Ooh.
Are you a dress up, take me to dinner and feed me a glass of wine, or are you?
I have to say,
at mum's house?
I do love my food, and I love going for meals and good food. But I think at current times, I will default to a good roast dinner, English roast dinner at mum and dad's, or
gravy,
or Cornish pasties. That's a favourite for us. And my mum makes a mean sticky toffee pudding as well.
Oh, good. We need to meet your mum by the sound of it.
I've been trying to get her to come to New Zealand for the last few years. I was thinking this might be the year, but it looks like that plan's scuppered for us all. They've been to New Zealand and they love it. They just haven't been when I've been there the last few years.
Yeah.
And number 5, which I've just changed, and it's actually been sent in to us again by George Paul. You mentioned that you're partial to a little piece of chocolate before bed. So the question lays: is it Cadbury or Whittaker's?
Oh, now that is a good question. So yes,
how long have we got?
Yeah. Every other country of the world, it has to be English Cadbury's. So in particularly Dairy Milk Cadbury's giant chocolate buttons. The only other chocolate apart from Cadbury's that gets my love and attention is Whittaker's, and that's the honest truth. The Australian Cadbury's, New Zealand Cadbury's, the US chocolate is awful. Whittaker's is that's normally is something that I request from people from New Zealand to send as well.
Let's just define the question a bit more. If you're at home in England and you can have the choice between English Cadbury's or Whittaker's, where are we now?
We could get Nadine to send some over if we need to as well.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, if I was in England, I think I would probably still do Cadbury's, the Dairy Milk Cadbury's giant chocolate buttons. But I would definitely hover and pause next to Whittaker's if it was in the store. If it was in the UK, I'd be like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah.
Basically, what you're saying is I'll have both, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Well, that's the quick 5. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for joining us. But actually, just before we go, you're actually involved in something pretty special. You're getting right in behind it. You're trying to get it growing, and not only here but around the world. Just quickly, in a couple of minutes, tell us what Souls for Souls is all about, Laura.
Yeah, I'll do my best. So Souls for Souls is a organisation that collect trainers, or they started doing trainers. They now do kit as well. And then they redistribute it either to disaster relief areas, or they have a great entrepreneur program where they send it out to females in third world struggling countries and help them grow their own business in selling the shoes on in their communities so that they can provide for their families and communities. So yeah, something I've been trying to set up for a while. I realized that partly with traveling and with the sport, I have a lot of trainers and kit that you use for a bit and then no longer need. And I just wanted to find a path that would be useful for them, give them a second life, rather than just sort of throwing them away or taking them to the local charity shop. So I've been trying to work with Souls for Souls for years. I think it's a great organization. We've very lucky to partner with Challenge Family. So anyone doing a Challenge Family event can take kit and trainers to the race and drop it at one of the bins on site, and then Souls for Souls will collect it, which is great. Obviously, that's not all over the world and in current times with not particular races. So I'm now trying to sort of work on getting a few other locations and collection points in different places. We've got one launching in the UK in October, which is great. And I'm desperately trying to find places in New Zealand and Australia as a collection point for the Souls for Souls, because I just think it's the thing about that, you actually see where the trainers go. So you can follow it through to actually them being repurposed and generated on. And there's so much about it. The kit's not going to landfill. It's helping people fight poverty. It's giving people those opportunities. And so I'm super excited to get it off the ground, and hopefully it can grow a bit more as well.
Absolutely love it. Love the cause. You're absolutely right. We're all guilty of having that pair of shoes or pair of kit that's just worn past our point of wear, but actually has a lot of wear left in it yet. So totally just wonderful what you're doing. Thank you again so much for joining us all the way from Spain. Just FYI, Nadine has just popped up to say that there's some chocolate on the way to your place. So stand next to your mailbox.
So
Nadine,
she's awesome. Thank you, Nadine.
Thank you so much for coming, Nadine. Do you know where our address is? Please feel free to come through. That's care of Team CP. Anyhow, all the best, Laura. Let's hope that the world gets back to some normality and we can see you back over here sometime soon. Don't forget to bring your gravel bike when you come.
No, thanks for having me on. It's really great to catch up with everyone. I do miss Christchurch a lot, and talking to everyone now, I'm like, hopefully we can all get back, and whether it's in Christchurch or just see everybody at a race start line at somewhere, whether that's gravel biking or triathlon.
Good job, Laura. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. How good. All the way from Spain.
All the way. Yeah. And what about that internet connection? We're rolling well, aren't we?
Spain's almost better than Kiwi, Richard. And while you were busy chatting there, I was doing some calculations in the background, and actually, it actually got a bit scary because actually I was out for dinner on Monday night. It was my sister's birthday, as well. So another September birthday. But when you count back, how did your parents celebrate Christmas, Richard?
I've got no idea. It was obviously 1977 was a good Christmas, wasn't it? Yes, thanks. I don't like to think about that too deeply, but thanks for that, Angus.
Anyhow, moving right along again. Right, a couple of things to talk about quickly before we move on to hear about Lee. Talk to Lee. One, for all you great CP athletes and anybody out there, don't forget that we currently have the clothing shop open on the Tonelli website. All orders close tomorrow night at midnight, I think it is. So currently on there, we've still got the new Contours kit, whether it be a run shirt, some bibs, or a cycling shirt. We've got run singlets in the traditional CP style, plus all the old traditional kits. So if you need to stock up now before and get some new kit coming your way by about November, ready for the Christmas break, now's a great time to order that. But also over on our Mind Body app. So if you're a CP member, you'll have a link to the Mind Body app. We've got the hoodies again, doing another run of hoodies. So if you missed the run of hoodies last time, now's your time to get one. And also, Richard, excitingly, some new hats. There's some new headwear coming to Team CP. And one of those exciting things is a new run visor.
Yes, you're good on your visors. Don't get so hot in the middle of the sun, in the middle of the heat of the day, to perform well and look good at the same time.
100%. So there's a couple of new styles of CP caps and the run visor. So again, closes tomorrow night. So for everybody out there, that's Thursday, the 17th of September. Get some new kit, and follow my old motto: if all else fails, look good doing
it. Exactly. That's right. Should we jump in to have a chat to Lee? Is he in the background there?
Lee is here. Lee, come in, caller.
Come in.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing, Lee? How's the body?
Surprisingly good. I've done a couple of slow runs this week, and everything's working. So
it must be the amount of ice cream and the amount of beer you've drunk this week, because you haven't been able to allow those in the previous months, eh?
Yeah, keep recovery feeling.
Yeah, exactly. So a little bit of background. We've been working together for a little while now, and it was kind of extended because it was Christchurch Marathon. Let's go and run a sub 3 hour marathon. Then that got cancelled, and then we're like, okay, well, what about Wellington? Let's have a crack at that. And then last minute that got cancelled as well. And then sort of toing and froing in between events, but you actually managed to pop up with a little event, the Sri Chinmoy run in Hagley Park on the weekend, which was 42.2 Ks round a 2K lap. Wasn't it?
2.5 actually.
2.5. Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. That half is quite important. And managed to nail your goal of a sub 3 hour marathon, which is pretty epic and some fantastic running. And there's not many people can say that they've actually run a sub 3 hour marathon. So it's a pretty elite club. You must be pretty stoked.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I've had a few people say welcome to the club, and it does feel like it's a bit of a benchmark. So I'm stoked to tick that one off.
Brilliant. So Lee, just flip it back a little bit. Tell us about your background. How did you get into running, and when did the marathon sort of journey start, and when did the thinking start? I need to see if I can go into 3.
Yeah. So I was having a think back today, going down memory lane a little bit, which was quite fun actually. So I started running when I was in Australia back in probably about 2008, just as a fitness and sort of some weight loss, and did a few runs and got up to doing a 10K over there. And I think I kind of got the bug when GPS watches first came out, and I could kind of geek out on the stats a bit. And it became easier to kind of push your pace up a little bit each run and kind of get into that sort of challenging yourself. And then once I came back to New Zealand in 2010, I started running at lunchtimes with some of my workmates, and it kind of became a bit of a habit. I was about 15 or 20K heavier than I am now, so it's definitely been a big benefit to the figure and to my health. And yeah, so the lunchtime runs kind of led into starting to do half marathons. So my dad was a runner, and he had a PB of, he's a little bit vague. It's sub 130. I think it was a 128 or a 129. He's still vague on that one. So that was sort of, that was sort of in the back of my head as a bit of a goal I'd quite like to get down to say I've gone a little bit faster than the old man. And so
he kept it vague, so you don't actually know what it is, whether you can beat it or not.
Yeah, he's like, oh, there's a certificate in a box somewhere. I'll try and find it. I'm sure it was a 120 stop thing. So so I made sure I went well past it in the end, just to be sure.
Good.
So starting from Christchurch Marathon to go back and check in 2012, and just started chipping down at that half marathon time. So 155, 46. It was quite interesting going through them. 39, 137, and then finally did a jump down and did a 129, and ticked off that sub 130 goal and sort of thought, oh, what's next? So in that time, also got into started getting the 5K time down a wee bit, and fell in with a sort of I'd say a little gang of middle-aged guys who run around Hagley Park at lunchtimes, who became known as the Hagley Hombres. We're quite big on Instagram. We've probably got at least 7 followers or something. So feel free to follow along for our.
Okay, there we go. We might be up to 8 after tonight.
Yeah, some pretty average running banter on there.
Angus is just, you can see him, he's just jumped on his phone.
And so some of those guys, most of those guys were sort of into trail running and did some silly stuff like 100 milers and off-road marathons and that. And they, when you're in a wee echo chamber and everything sort of sounds normal after a while. And so, the distances started to creep up, and I did the Crater Rim, I think it was 29K or 30 at the time. And got a taste of that sort of trail running. And then the first actual marathon I did was Aerosmith at Ashburton Lakeway. And that was a bit of a epic sufferfest for the last 10 there. And went back and had another crack at that the next year, and after another year of training, and got it down a little bit. But my first actual road marathon was actually an accidental one. One weekend when I miscalculated a weekend long run, and it ended up being about 35. I thought, oh, that's a bit close. So I ended up just shuffling it out and did a really slow 42 on the road. Good. Just to tick it off to say I had run a marathon. And it was probably 4 hours. I can't remember. well over 4 hours. But the first event was actually quite satisfying. Was the same Chimney Marathon 3 years ago, and so the first official one was 3:27. Round and round and round, a slightly longer 2.6 week that year. And then from there, it was kind of like the halves. It was just chipping away again. So Christchurch 2018, I took a big chunk out of that and did a 3:06. The weather was a bit better that year. The last 10 was a Sufferfest. Then 2019 was pretty focused on sub 3 after getting so close. Got a structured plan in place. Was feeling pretty good. Had a couple of good long runs in that. And then race day, the weather was pretty horrific.
Horrible.
Which was partly an excuse, but also that same sort of 10K to go, wheels fell off pretty bad, and it ended up being a 3:07, much to the delight of the hombres who. You'll probably see a photo actually of the state I came in down Kilmore Street there that year.
Good.
And so then it was even so bad that I was pretty confident, and my wife had gone as far as actually organising a sub 3 cake that had to be quickly actually sort of modified on the top there to just be a well done cake.
Just change
so that's the thing. Don't ever get a cake celebrating before you've ticked the goal off, because that's just
write that down.
So this year there was no cake. I said definitely no cake. I might get one now, but So then a little bit disappointed with obviously going from 3:06 to 3:07, but then still pretty committed to that sub 3. So gave you guys a call in February, thinking have another cricket Christchurch, and then along came COVID. So
So you had it. So what did you do differently? Like, obviously you build up, and it was a never-ending taper. But what was sort of one or two key things that you did differently between your 3:06-ish, 3:07 to this time round and your build up?
So I think I had been doing some long runs. I don't think they were probably structured in the same way this time around. So we were doing stuff like sort of a half hour or 10K warm up, and then doing that marathon pace on sort of tighter legs, and also some of those last few sessions are kind of hour and a half at marathon pace, 2 hours at marathon pace with full race fueling. So practicing the drink bottles and the drink mix, and I think fuel's probably been the biggest change. So looking back at what I was doing for those 2 Christchurch marathons, I probably took in double the carbs this year.
So we worked that out, didn't we? What was it, like 80 grams of carbohydrates per hour that you managed to?
So little plug, I guess, for Morton. I swapped over to Morton drink mix this year, which I found really good, and just in terms of the grams that they pack into 500 mils of drink, and my stomach seemed to have no trouble with it. So that really is a really good source of heaps of carbs, and a reasonably easy to get down amount of fluids. So that's worked really well for me, and I think that's probably the big game changer. Is just nearly double the carbs on those race days, and I guess also another 12 months of just running and building that base. In terms of aerobic stuff, I guess. And
brilliant.
Lastly, working with Caden, who was on last couple of weeks back, he helped me sort of work on a few long running niggles that pop up when I sort of increase the volume. And so on top of some of the strength sessions that were in the CP plan, he added in a few specific strength exercises around some of the niggles that I'd had that sort of play up in that last 10K after the sort of 2.5 hours of abuse type thing. So
brilliant. So you're able to hold yourself strong. You're obviously able to fuel your body well to get to, like, you're fit enough, but actually to hold yourself to strong enough, and then also fuel your body enough, and then it'll come together. Angus, have you got the pacing, like his graph? Look at this. So this is a graph of Lee of his marathon. So just looking how even that is. So running 4:15s as an average that he needed to hit through the course of the whole marathon. A little bit of a dip there through kind of 30 Ks where it always gets a little bit tough, but then also finished really strong as well. So 2:58.24 as your finishing time. It's a pretty even pacing around and around Higley Park.
Yeah, that wee dip felt a lot worse than it looks in hindsight. At the time, I was really fighting against the self-talk of oh, here you go again type thing, but just stuck at that regular fueling and tried to flip it around and a bit of positive self-talk to just hang on there till you get the sniff at the end and then you kind of carry yourself through. So
how far out were you from the end when you knew you were in it?
Oh, probably not to the last sort of couple of laps, because I was so tired I can't do any maths by that stage to work out the clock's there each lap, but trying to divide that into 2.5 and I had the pace in my watch, and that sort of had me about 20 seconds behind 4:15 pace, but I knew that was going to get me in slightly under, so I was quietly confident with a couple of laps to go, and by the time I came around for the last lap I could do the maths and knew I could just leave it all out there for the last few K, as you could see, and actually had some speed left, which was pretty satisfying to finish on some low fours. So yeah, it was awesome.
Good stuff. Excellent. And what did you do the day before? Wasn't your standard lead up before the race?
No. So normally you plan on having sort of Saturday off, but myself and a few other hombres and some of our other circular friends from the sort of trail running community have been volunteering with the Odyssey House Run Club, who call themselves the Speed Freaks. So they're an addiction rehab house out here in Burnside, and their running clubs are quite a key part of helping the guys with their recovery. And they entered the Akarataki relay for the first time this year. So we were allowed. We had special compensation. Special allowance to buddy up with the guys and run with them on their legs, and do that as a team on the Saturday. So I did I kind of asked for a especially easy one and then got a nice flat one round. It was League 5 round the lake into Little River there. The downside being that I probably ate about 3 kilos worth of midgies there, but I just had some pre-race protein, so that probably worked out all right.
Good protein. It
was a sort of a 10K shake out of the legs the day before. So not what I normally do, but obviously worked out okay. So it was awesome to see the guys. The buzz they get off finishing these races is awesome. So we're all really enjoying being involved with those guys this year, and I think they'll be out and about at Governor's Bay on Saturday, which I can't make, but you'll see them all in their blue shirts. Rather than being out there. So yeah, perfectly
well done. Super stoked for you. Super stoked to actually finally finish it off. To actually have a crack at an event in this day and age is pretty awesome. And then also just to go, well, I'm going to run 10Ks the day before, but let's roll the dice and see if we can do it. So and to actually execute that race plan, execute the pacing, execute the nutrition, and hang tough mentally when it is getting tough to finish it off. You've done super well. Stoked for you.
Cheers. Thanks.
And Lee, when you went sub 130 for the half, and you went, oh well, 130. What's next? And so then you sub 3 hours for the marathon. The question's still there, though, right? What's next?
Yeah, that's the trouble, isn't it?
When you crossed the finish line, were you completed? Were you like, did you cross the finish line? Apart from that, you probably didn't actually comprehend, but did you have that? I've done it. I've completed that, or did you not long after that have the drive to go, right? That was great, but
there was definitely a sense of satisfaction, because it has been a real challenge to get there. But no, there's definitely still goals out there. So I was in at front runner today, and Oscar was in my ear saying, "You're good for a 250," and I'm like,
now, Lee, I really need to warn you. What you say on the show can be held against you in the.
Well, he said, "Oh, it's just a bit of speed work." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So
writing that down, Richard. I'm putting that on our pad.
I like the idea of maybe getting another 30 seconds off the 5K or something. Maybe getting the 5K down a wee bit sounds a little bit might be an intermediate thing to have a go at. A little bit shorter and faster, maybe just for something different. And then I've got some unfinished business at Old Ghost in February, so I'd like to get under 9 at Old Ghost. So I've done a couple of 920s. So got a little bit more I think I can get out of Old Ghost, and then we'll see. My 2 Kentwood marathons are both rolled over, so I've got to do 2 next year anyway. So.
It's got to do 2 more marathons. So there we go. So there's a 250 in the back. You put that in pen, not pencil as well, haven't you, Angus?
Yeah, got that.
Got that. Good. Well done, Lee. Well, you enjoy eating your ice cream and drinking your beers, and go and make yourself a cake as well. Just enjoy chilling out and reflecting on a job well done.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Lee.
Thanks, Lee. Cheers, Lee.
Job's on there, Rich. Job's still on there, isn't it?
Yeah, he's done very well, very, very well. That's fantastic. We've got a little challenge coming up, haven't we? Our challenge for the month. Tell us about that, Angus.
We have. We're still not done with all our great challenges, Richard. And this is actually a really, really good one. This one, isn't it? Did you come up with this? Is this?
I came up with this. Yeah, just out for a run down the road, and you see bits and pieces sort of lying around. Like I was actually paddling upstream in the Waimak, and there was a V can floated past. I had to go and pick that up because that's not right, is it? So tidy Kiwi is our next challenge. So. Basically your job is to be a tidy Kiwi while you're out running or out biking or out kayaking. Just stop, just pick it up, put it in your backpack, take a photo of it, send it through to us with your smiley dial there at the same time, and let's see what we can do, how we can clean this place up.
Yep, we would love to see We would love to see some pictures, some feedback of what you've collected along the way, and what we can do for our beautiful country that we get to run and bike and things. And but make sure, and now's probably a good time, Rich, because there's probably plenty of people around that have got spare rubber gloves and things from these COVID times, kicking around a few boxes of rubber gloves. But do please remember, think about the safety and health and things like that when you are picking up somebody else's rubbish. But an absolutely great thing to be doing.
Yes, absolutely. So let's get in amongst that, and our fantastic partners, Solomon, Giant, Coffee Culture, Front Runner, Pure Sports Nutrition, Evo Cycles. All those guys will have some pretty fancy prize packs to give out to people that get amongst it and show what they've come up with.
Excellent, Richard. Excellent. Right. Well, that brings us to the end of Wednesday night. Always a shame when we get to the end of Wednesday night, Rich. But it does mean one thing. It means that it's only a week until we get to do it again. Absolutely. Yeah. And we've got a great show next week. We're talking Crater Rim, talking to Scotty Hawker as well in regards to his fantastic endurance running efforts. And that's going to be fantastic to talk about the Crater Rim specifically as well. Yep, absolutely. So meantime, keep your eyes peeled on all our social channels, over on our Facebook pages. Of course, this episode will be, as always, up as a podcast. It'll be it's already over there as we speak right now on YouTube. But keep your eyes peeled for all things going on in the Team CP world. Until then, same bat time, same bat channel, 8:15 every Wednesday here. Richard Greer, thank you very much for joining us once again, and we'll see you next week. Good job. Thanks for pushing the buttons. The CP man with the Mo has done well. Good job, Angus. Thank you. Over and out.